Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of Mad History, the Halloween special. In today's video we learn about the genius behind Dracula, Bram Stoker. That's the chap. So I guess we will start from the very beginning when he was born. Bram Stoker was born on the 8th of November 1847 and he was a genius from then till death. He attended school at the Trinity School in Dublin in the 1860s in Northern Ireland. Here is the big chap. He had many achievements at the school. His most notable was the University Athletics Championship and presidency of the Philosophical Society. In 1871, he graduated with honours from the school in science, pure mathematics. And when he left, he took a job as a civil servant at Dublin Castle. Then he became a performance reviewer and reviewed performances, but he was unpaid for it. In 1875 he published his first novel, The Primrose Path. It was the writer's first, published 22 years before Dracula and serialised in 5 instalments. In The Shamrock, a weekly Irish magazine from February 6, 1875 to March 6. In 1876 he reviewed Henry Irving's performance in William Shakespeare's Hamlet, and at that point he became great friends with him. Because of this, in 1878 he accepted a job offer to become the acting manager at Irving's Lyceum's Theatre, so he moved to London with his wife Florence. First non-fiction book was called Duties of Clerks of Petty Sessions in Ireland and was published in 1879. His first collection of short stories, titled Under the Sunset, was published in 1882. Some of the titles included in Under the Sunset were Under the Sunset, The Rose Prince, The Invisible Giant, The Shadow Builder, How 7 Went Mad, Lies and Lilies, The Castle of the King, and The Wondrous Child. His first published poem was in 1885 and was called One Thing Needful. His next non-fiction was published in 1886 and was called A Glimpse of America. Its exact day that it was published was May 15th. March 15th, sorry. Bram Stoker then started to work on Dracula in 1890, but was untitled up until he visited Whitby, a seaside town in Yorkshire, northern England, split by the River Esk on the east cliff overlooking the North Sea. He came across the name Dracula while he spent the summer there. His next published poem was in 1980 and was called The Member of the Strand. Afterwards, in 1891, Bram's second novel, The Snake's Pass, was published. It centres on the legend of St. Patrick defeating the King of Snakes in Ireland. The novel also centres on the troubled romance between the main character and a local peasant girl. His final published poem, The Wrongs of Grosvenor Square, was published in 1892. In 1895, his third novel was published, which was called The Watter's Mow. It is the story of a woman who is in love with a man whose job it is to stop smuggling by poor fishermen like her father. Later that year, his fourth novel was published, The Shoulder of Shasta. It is a romance novel written in 1895. The book is set in the American West. It was written after one of the American tours with Henry Irving. In 1897, Bram's Dracula was published, a graphic novel that has been made into films more than 200 times. Published on the 26th of May. In 1898, his next novel was published called Miss Betty. It has a Goodreads rating of 3.8 out of 5. In 1902, Bram published his seventh novel, The Mystery of the Sea. It is a horror and adventure book with many of the same compelling elements from Dracula. The Jewel of the Seven Stars is Bram's next. The story is a first-person narrative of a young man pulled into an archaeologist's plot to revive Queen Terra, an ancient Egyptian mummy. Published in 1903. On the 13th of October 1905, at 67-year-old, Irving was taking part in a performance whilst on tour in Bradford when he suffered a stroke. He was taken to the lobby of the Midland Hotel, where he died shortly afterwards.